Still awkward at this. Hello, YouTube audience. I wanted to come on here and share with you everything I learned about taking a child to Boston. I don't know about you, but an adult trip and a trip with a child is pretty different at this point in my life. Now I'm doing more relaxing and partying stuff. And then when I have my son, we do all of the fun nature and cultural stuff and all the fun kid stuff. Is there a waterfall over there?
No, come.
Okay. If you're into that, then Boston's the place for you. On the plane ride there, my son was 4 years old. I had to give him a timeout. A lot of people don't do timeouts. I use the super nanny timeout method.
You guys are in a crisis. I'm on my way.
Parenting tip number 1. If you want to do that, it's pretty hard to give your child a timeout if you're sitting right next to them. They're normally still trying to get attention from you or acting out in some way. So I found the best thing to do was to tell Lance he's getting a timeout and then remove myself, but go somewhere in the plane where I can still supervise him, but not sitting right next to him. And actually there was a really crazy story. There was this flight attendant, Pam, who wasn't letting us do that. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. I needed to discipline Lance for smacking me. He's 4. It happens. A lot of kids have that problem and then it's just, they kind of grow out of it, but you do have to like parent them still. What I did was I brought him to the back row of seats and the back row is empty. And there was this flight attendant, Pam, who said, oh, no one can sit in this row because it's making the flight off balance, which doesn't really make that much sense. And then she was like, you have to go back to your seat. You can't be like walking around in the aisle. The fasten your seatbelts sign is on. I just looked at it and it wasn't on, so I was just like, it's not on. But you can't really like have an argument with the flight attendant. You kind of just have to do what they say. And before that, I had to take Lance to the bathroom a few times and it kept being like the same lady, Pam. She was like, does he really have to pee? Does he really have to go to the bathroom? Like just really questioning it. There's a guy sitting near the bathroom who had a kid and I felt like even he was kind of like rolling his eyes at her. And then I was like, what's your name? And then she came back and she was like, Pam. Whew. When we got to Logan, more things I learned. If your kid wants to ride on the luggage, no, don't do it because they will fall off and they will hit their head. Okay, next. Here's a really valuable tip. When you're renting your car for this trip, you can get a car seat so that you don't have to haul your car seat on the plane because they're really heavy. And the big tip is all of the rental car companies are all together and there's a super long line to get a rental car. But then there's one that's not conglomerated with all the other ones and there's like no line for that one. It's called Sixt, S-I-X-T. Getting out of Logan in Boston, there's a saying, all roads lead back to Logan. If you make a wrong turn in the tunnels, you will go all the way back to Logan and have to start over. Just know that. So then we checked in to the Boston Harbor Hotel, which it was my first time staying there, and it was a fast favorite. It's literally one of my top 2 favorite hotels. My other favorite hotel is in London. It's called the Charlotte Street Hotel. And it was just 5-star luxury all the way. After this long travel day, my poor son, he was even more exhausted than I was. I was like, this is the most worth it time ever to get a luxury hotel. I got it for $500 a night, off from $700. I went during the cheapest time. Most of the summer travelers are already out, and then it's not Labor Day because there's a lot of travel during Labor Day, and it's also before the students come back. If you've never lived in Boston, you might not know that a huge percentage of the population in Boston are actually students. And the lady was saying like the different rates. She didn't start off with the cheapest one. I think the next one up was like over $1,000 a night or something. And I was like, oh, I'm actually looking at the most economical room, and I'm actually gonna ask to see if I can get a discount on that. Online, it was discounted down from $700 to $600. And then just because I didn't book it online and I called and just asked, she gave me another $100 off. A pleasant surprise. Everyone there was just so great with kids, and everything happened in such a timely manner. No one was snooty or anything. And I kept calling it a restaurant by accident while I was there because the food was so good. It's a great place to vacation if you're a foodie. In Boston, I actually ate a lot of gluten. I normally don't eat gluten or dairy, but in Boston, it's a little bit harder to find gluten and dairy-free stuff than Seattle. Not too much harder. They have like really good traditional Italian food because Boston is more traditional, so I got really indulgent. It started with my son eating these rolls. I tasted the roll, and it was like the best bread, and then I had to keep eating it. I probably could have done everything I ate on vacation for that next time. Another crazy thing about this trip is it kind of turned into a road trip. I knew I was going to go down to Duxbury. Then I ended up kind of like staying in Duxbury and Cohasset. And then we went down to Falmouth. I'm like, oh, this is a road trip. So we got invited to stay down in Duxbury. I was going to visit my childhood friends, my music teacher, my first music teacher when I was a baby. And then we stayed with her friend for a night. The following day we were in Cohasset, my childhood town. That's my old school. I didn't live in Seattle when I was a kid. I lived here.
You live in there, you live here,
Yeah, I lived here when I was a kid. When I was your age, I lived here. Can't recommend Cohasset enough. The harbor area, the Red Lion Inn downtown. You have to go to French Memories. French Memories Bakery. They have like sweets and lunch stuff. It's a cafe. It's delicious. It's owned by a French couple. It was there when I was a kid. I heard that the French couple wanted to sell it. They're ready to retire, I guess. They've owned it for such a long time. They can't sell the place because they can't find another French couple to sell it to. It must be a French couple or else it won't be French Memories. Go there. Plymouth. I really recommend Plymouth because there's a lot of like tourist activities. You could do boat rides, the Mayflower. There's a living historical museum about the first settlers with actors, so that's really cool, especially for kids. Beaches, ponds, lakes, the woods. It kind of goes without saying. Falmouth. No. Don't go there. People like the Cape, they like Falmouth because of how the land is. It makes the water in the ocean there really warm. There is a really cool, like unique maritime and nautical culture in the South Shore. South Shore is like a little extension of like Cape culture mixed with a little bit of like Boston culture. But I'm more of a city person at this point in my life, and I really did not like Falmouth. We stayed at the Seacoast Inn. It was really bad. I think I got like a special deal and I got it for $230 a night. I have stayed at La Quinta Inns that are cleaner and have a better check-in than that. Literally when we went inside, there was like this door and Lance opened the door and he opened the door to someone else's room and it didn't open all the way, but the doors couldn't quite close all the way, I guess because of the humidity. And then our front door to our room kept opening like over and over and over again, and it was really hard to shut. And the floor wasn't clean and there was all of this like caked urine dust stuff behind the toilet. Then we got cold and I turned on the heater. And then our place smelled disgusting, like burnt stuff, and I was almost could have like asked for a different room or something, and I couldn't open the windows, and someone had to come and like open the windows for us. It shouldn't have been over $100. When I'm on my own, I could drive 5 hours, no problem. When I'm with my kid, if I drive over an hour, it's kind of disappointing if it's like not worth it. I don't know. No, just don't go to Falmouth. Okay. After that, we went up to Boston and we stayed in Winthrop with our friend Stacy. Stacy Steck Real Estate. She is literally the most generous person. She was my dad's girlfriend when I was like 6 and 7. Ever since, she would just send me like a present every year on Christmas and my birthday, and now she does it for Lance. And then when I'm in town, she's like, come stay with me. My favorite part of the trip, Winthrop is so underrated. I'd never really been there before, but I would always see it coming into Boston. It just looks like idyllic New England when you fly in and you see Winthrop there. It kind of has a bad reputation for being loud because of the planes, but it's actually a really nice town, and it's a little bit cheaper because of that. And my son loves planes. I think that was like the most overjoyed he was on the whole trip. We went to this little fried seafood restaurant, Belle Isle Seafood, and just ate dinner, and we were watching the planes land, and there was the most incredible sunset. And in Winthrop, there are so many little hidden gems. There's Adriana's. I got coffee there. Children's Wharf Park. Lance loved that maybe even more than the Children's Museum, and it's free. I love this about New England. It's such a cool mix of city and nature.
Why we can't take them home?
He always asks that. Rental car return. Our flight home was at 9:30 a.m. We were like one of the last people on the flight. I wish that I returned my car at the rental return place the night before and then just Ubered to the airport, because it would have saved me so much time. I'm so much a night owl. I'm so not a morning person, so it's a lot easier for me to do that at night, and then I can just go to the airport in the morning. Another thing I really recommend is Clear. It's really, really easy to sign up, and you can skip the security line. Little kids don't walk fast. I think if you're a parent, you probably know what I'm talking about, but what you kind of have to do is you kind of have to like walk ahead and then they'll follow you. But if you're kind of like making them stick with you, then they're gonna like keep going really slow. So I had to like keep like walking and then like being like, come on. Like obviously I could still see him the whole time, but he doesn't like being rushed, you know, he's 4. He doesn't like having to walk really fast. If you're traveling with kids, I recommend you get Clear and TSA pre-check, because then when you drop off your bag, the security entrance will be right next to that. I don't like strollers because they're big and I want my kid to have strong legs and walk. I mean, I used a stroller when he was like 1 and 2, but my kid is faster and has more energy than me, and I want him to be really athletic. He's a big guy. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what your happy medium is. Stroller, no stroller. How old was your kid when you stopped using a stroller? Check bag, no check bag. Overall, the trip was definitely worth it. I had to travel with my son at some point during the summer. It was not really a vacation for me. It was more for my son. He loves flying. He loves traveling. He loves our friends there. It's really good memories. What do you think? I hope that you found these tips helpful. Please enjoy and let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you guys.